So we are left with two more topics. Not here. We are left with two more commands actually that uses regular expression. Awk and set commands. Okay, very useful, used very commonly for many situations in many situations, right? So first, just take a look. We will go to this link to get some examples of awk command. And before that, let me log into my EC2 machine. Okay, so this is the syntax of our command. Either you can put the same way you run the grep command, right? You can either put it like awk, then put the command, then at the end you can put the file name. That is one option. The second option is you can cat the file name, put a pipe symbol just like you did in grep. You run one command using a pipe symbol, you can send the string back to awk. So it's the same thing awk does. It receives a large string as its input, process it, and then print the useful information. That's what the awk command would also do. Like grep, the syntax is also kind of same. I mean, the way how you run it is kind of same. Awk command followed by file name or cat file name, put a pipe symbol, then awk command. That's also fine. And there would be three parts, three sections that you see for any awk command. There would be one begin section, then one main action section. At the end, you would find a section which says end. So, and any input string that our command would receive, assume it contains multiple lines. Each line would be treated as a record by our command, just like grep. That's what grep would do, right? When you grep for a particular pattern in a file, it would print the entire record or it would print the entire line. The line is the record. Each record is a line for grep, awk, or set commands. So there would be multiple records in the input which awk is going to receive. For each and every records, this action section would get executed. This is the main action section that you simply put inside a bracket. Whatever command that you put inside this particular bracket are going to be executed for each and every lines or each and every records. And then you have a begin section and you have an end section. Actually, they don't get executed for each record. Basically, whatever that you write down inside this bracket which comes under begin, they get executed at the beginning before the awk execution starts, before the awk main action starts. This will get executed once. Then for each record the action would run. At the end, after all action have been completed and all record have been finished processing, then the end section would execute whatever command that you put inside this end section. They will run once. So whatever you put in the begin and end run only once. Begin at the beginning of our execution, uh, this one end get executed at the end of the execution, and whatever commands that you write down in the main action is what going to be executed for each record of input pattern, input string. So I will show you examples. It's optional. I mean, you don't really need to put begin action and stop and end section everywhere. It's completely optional. If you don't want, you don't need to put. Okay, so I will show you some examples. ls-l command, if you run it, you can see the list of files that you have. Maybe I will create more files. Test1, test2, test3, test4, test5. I'm creating a number of files. Type the command ls-l, you can see the list of files that you have. These are the list of files that you have. Now let's say you want to run some command. You want to run some command which would actually print only the permission of the files and also the file name. So on this output, how you can send this output to the awk command, put a pipe symbol, then run the command awk. And I am putting only the main action section. Over here I am running a command. Print is an awk command that would actually print the whatever string that you give to it. So you put print hello, it would print hello. For each record, it would print hello. That means how many records are there, it would simply print hello. Or you want to print the permission, you can put $1, $2, $3, $4, etc. $1, $2, $3, $4, etc. These are nothing but indicate the field in each record. So for this particular record, this is the first field. Then there is a space. This will become the second field, third field, fourth field, like that. So for each record in awk, like I told you, it is nothing but each line that comes as individual record to awk. And for each record, space is the field separator. So whenever it finds a space, that would become a new field. So what it means is, if I want to print the first field, I can put $1. If I want to put $1 and also the file name, I can put $9. Actually, the file names comes under the 9 colon. If you count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The file name is on the 9 column. So my intention is I want to print only the permission and the 9th column, which is nothing but file name. Then it would print me only the permission and the file name. Let's say I want to print only the owner, but I can put $3. Then it would print me only the owner name and also the file name. So this way I can refer to the field by using $1, $2, $3, etc. And as you can see, for each record in the input, the command got executed. The print command got executed for all inputs. There are, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, you can see the same number of output over here. Okay, great. So that's what our command would do. And this is, as you can see, it is the main action session only that you have put. You are simply printing the third and 9th column. Or you can even put something like this. Okay, the file $9. So these things you need to put in the double quotes. If you want to print any string, you need to put them in the double quotes. So I'm putting something like this file $9 is owned by, then I put $3. I can do these things also. Basically, if you want any string to be printed along, you can put them in a double quotes. So this statement would print something like print the file, then the file name is owned by, then the user, and $3 is nothing but the user. So like this also, you want to print, you can make your awk command to print it out, depending on how you want your output to look like. Right? So yeah. Okay. So now let's say I'm creating some folder also. So I have these many folders and these many files with me. Now what I want to do is this fifth column indicate the size of the inode. So basically I want to add these values together and I want to see the sum. That's my intention. Whatever I have in the fifth field, I want all those values get added up and I want my out command to printing the sum to me. So let's see, I'm running this ls command, then I am sending this output to the out. In the begin section, what I would do is I would initiate a variable called sum is equal to 0. In the main action session, what I'm going to do is sum equal to sum plus sum plus $5. As you can see, this is a command that is going to get executed for each record. There are multiple records. For each record, this command is going to be executed. So first, sum is equal to sum plus $5 means the value 0 would be added to this. Then again, it would repeat for the next record. Sum is equal to sum plus. So sum already became 4096 this time. And new sum is equal to 4096 plus $5. So again, another 4096. So like this, all these values get added up. And at the end of this out execution, the main action, when all records have been finished processing, this sum variable would contain the sum of $5, the fifth field. Now at the end, there is a end section. Using this end section, I am just printing out the value of sum. Print sum is the command, which would basically print out the value of sum at the end, right? At the end of each record processing, sum would be printed. By that time, sum would already got values, right? And that value got printed here. And even you can have if condition. Let's say I will show you now. What I want to do is I want Ubuntu to be the owner of few of my files, test1 and test2. So now Ubuntu is the owner of file test1 and test2. Now let's say my intention is if the owner is Ubuntu, I want to print the file name. That's what I want to do, right? So what you can really do is if the fifth colon is Ubuntu, then print the ninth colon. You can write that command. You can basically use an if condition inside your out command, which would do the job for me. So ls-l out. Then in the main action, I am going to put an if condition. If $5 equal to Ubuntu, then what I want to do, I want to print the ninth column, which is nothing but the file name. You got it right. So first, in only main action section is required because for each record, I want to check if the owner is Ubuntu. If it is Ubuntu, I want to print $9. So only the main action section is required here. First, I am comparing if $5 is equal to Ubuntu. For each record, this if condition would run. If it is Ubuntu, then only the file would be printed. Otherwise, no execution would take place. Run this command. If $5 equal to Ubuntu, print $9. Did I miss a semicolon here? If $5, sorry, it's not $5, it's $2. Sorry, $3. It's the third column that indicate the owner, so it should be $3, right? Yeah. So if $3 equal to Ubuntu, that means in the third column, if it is Ubuntu, then print the ninth column. So only test1 and test2, these two records have $3 equal to Ubuntu. So these names would be printed in the output. right? So, yeah, and that's it. Can we also print result in txt file somewhere outside? Yeah, you can always, for any command, you can use this this symbol to send your output to a log file at any point of time. Whatever the output your command is giving, just put this double greater than symbol at the end to send the output of the command to a file. In what cases begin and action is required? Sometimes, let's say you want to initialize some variable, or maybe, right, let's say before you start processing a set of record, you want to make some pre-adjustments. For example, in this particular case, you set sum is equal to 0, you initialized sum as a variable. Or sometimes you would want to initialize uh, you know a variable to be starting with a number, or you want to define some, in for example, I will show you. Let's think about this example. Just thinking what is the best example for it. Okay, let's say uh, I'm in a situation like, okay, I want to look for a particular file name, and if that file name is present, then I want to print the owner, right? I have a situation like, I want to look for a file name, or let's say Ubuntu. Think about this. Maybe this is a good example also. You are running this particular command and you are putting Ubuntu like this. Now let's say you are putting, instead of this, you want to do this. You are initializing a string variable at the beginning. In the begin section, what you want to do is you initialize a string that you want to match. There you are defining Ubuntu. It's better, right? Because inside the awk, you are not using the hard coded variable that would populate from whatever you define inside begin section. So in the begin section, you might want to, in this case, just an initialization. Sometimes you want to run some command before you start with the main action block. For example, you want to log into a number of machines. Your intention is you have a number of machine that you want to log into. So before you are executing this script from a machine, first you want to make some SSH adjustment inside this machine itself. So, right, you want to set up some SSH settings inside this machine itself. So in such situations, whatever thing that you want to do apart from individual record processing can put inside a begin section. Okay. How can we search particular result in output file by using awk? Yeah, we will see that. Okay. So now we will take a look at some awk variables, which is very, very important. Field separator, record separator, output field separator, and output record separator. These four variables. the most important variables in awk. So let me ask you one question. Of course, now you know that whenever awk find a space, it would treat that as a new field in the record. This is the first field, second field, third field, fourth field. By default, whenever there is a space, it is the space that would become the field separator of our command. Field separator is equal to space. And what is a record separator? Each line is a new record for awk. Whenever there is a new record, that is a new line, that is a new record for our command. That's what I mean by the record separator. What is mean by output field separator? In the output of our command, what is the field separator? So basically, let's take this example. You are printing $3, $9. In the output, how the field are separated? And again, by default, it is space. How about the output record separator? First record, second record, third record. So in the output also, the records are separated by new line, or I could call it backslash n. Backslash n is a indication in bash to specify a new line. So these are the variables in awk, and by default these are the values of those variables. Field separator is equal to space, record separator is equal to new line, output field separator is equal to space, output record separator is equal to new line. And what if we can customize it? Actually, it is possible that you can customize these variables in awk. I will show you. Take the same example ls-l, or maybe we will take the example of /etc password file. /etc password file also has a format. It has number of lines. Each line indicate a user record, and each field in this record indicates some user settings, and all of them are separated by a colon, not by a space. So in this case, the field are separated by a colon. So in awk, you need to set that as the field separator, then only you can work this etc password file. So I will show you. First I run the command /etc password, and over here in the begin section of our, I am sending the output of this command as input to our command, and in the our command under the begin section I am going to put something like this: field separator is equal to colon. Instead of space, I want colon to be the field separator. Then in the main action section, what I want to do, I want to print, let's say, I want to print the username, which is nothing but $1. Then I want to print the home folder, which is nothing but $6. So I want to print only the username, which is in the first column, the home folder, which is in the sixth column. So I put $1 and $6. Field separator is equal to colon. So run this command, you can see in the output you got only the username followed by the home folder got printed. And of course, in the output, the fields are separated by space. Output field separator is still space, because that is what it by default. If you want to change it, again you can change that in the begin section. In the begin section, now I am going to put output field separator also I want it to be colon instead of space. In the output also the field separator should be colon. If you run it, now you can see fields are separated by colon, the username colon, their home folder, and that came for each and every record. We can give our own colon separator values, right? That's what we did. Can we add two conditions in single command? Can we add two conditions in a single command? If condition, yes. True out, we can. we can, let's say you got this output printed, then on this top of this output you want another out to execute. You can again put a pipe symbol, then this would become the input of your next out command. You can have out to be executed any number of times, separated by a pipe symbol, so that the output of previous command would be passed as the input to the next command, and it can continue until you got your result. Space is default in OFS, yes. By default, OFS and FS equal to space, ORS and RS equal to new line. That's how it is by default. All these variables we can define, so we will come into that. Now let's say I'm creating, I will take a different example, because this is not the perfect example for. I have a file called students.txt, and I have the name of the students and their marks. Assume it's a large file, or maybe it could be something else. It could be a details about a number of machine that you have. First, you put the IP address of the machine, then you list down whatever softwares are installed on those machine, or anything. So in this case, it is nothing but list of students, and there are many students: Tom and his mark, Jerry and his marks, then Annie and her marks, then Bob and his marks. So like that, you have a number of students and their marks, this format. And as you can see, assume these records are separated by two lines. First, it is the first student, then each line his marks are printed. Then after two lines, the next students got printed. So this is the format of the file. And now what I want to do is, I want to make it in such a way that one student records to be printed in a single line, the second student record to be printed in a single line. So I want only 4 lines in the output. I want my out command to work on this input and process it, and then in the output I want this to be printed in the first line, this to be printed in the second line. So like that, each record I want them to be printed in each line. That's not how it is in this particular file. What we can do? Any assumptions using these variables? Can you do something? What if I set the field separator is equal to new line? By default, it was space. This time I would set the field separator is equal to a new line. The record separator, I will set it to double new line. What will happen in that case? This always get the highest priority. Double new line, record separator value will get the highest priority. So first, how could identify that whenever there's a two lines, that would become the record separator. So this is one record, then the next record starts, then the next record starts. That out will know. And since you set field separator equal to new line, this would become the first field, this will become the second field, this will become the third field, fourth field, and fifth field. So basically, what out would do, if you set fs equal to backslash n single line and rs equal to double line, what actually happens is, these records would be printed into each line, right? This is the first record, second record, third record, and fourth record. And for each record, there are 5 fields. The fields are separated by line. So let me save this file. Let's look at the value students.txt, and on this file I'm running my out command. Under the begin section, I'm going to put fs is equal to new line. Rs equal to double new line. In the main action, what I want to do, I want to print everything. $1, $2, $3, $4, $5. I want to print all the fields. So what would happen? As you can see, the field separator is equal to new line. So this is the first field, second field, third field, fourth field, fifth field, then two lines, which is actually it would be treated as a new record. And for this record, first line, second field, third field, fourth field, and fifth field. So like this, whenever it finds two space, that will be treated as a new record. Otherwise, each line is treated as a field. So what would be the output? Output would look like this. Is it clear? Now let's say I want to make it even further. I want the output field separator to be, instead of space, I want to put some tab space. The output field separator, I want to make it as a tab space instead of normal space. What I can do is output field separator equal to \t. \t means tab space. It would add, right, a tab space. Now you can see the output is better arranged. Or maybe you can even do it further, like let's say you want in the output record also, you want two lines. Output record separator, that means each lines right now they are separated by a single line. If you want multiple lines, you can put output record separator is equal to, let's say, \n. In that case, in the output record, between each record it would put two lines. So that's pretty much, you got it right. So if you have to execute multiple out command, let's say I have this output now, and now I want to run another out command. What I can do, at the end of this command, put another pipe symbol, then start your next out command. Let's say I want to print only $1 and $2. I want to know the only the first mark of the students. I can put print $1, $2. Again, by default, the output field separator is equal to space. The output record separator is equal to, no, actually, right. Output record separator is also new line, not double line, because it already have a line, empty lines. That's why. So like this, I can customize my output. Okay, so that's pretty much about all I wanted to discuss, and take a short break of 5 minutes. We will continue in 5 minutes. I got disconnected. Let me log in again. Okay, the next command is set again one very important command, sed. So sed is typically used for looking for a given pattern in a file, replace that with a different pattern, find and replace. Or sometimes you want to search, get, get the complete data between two pattern. You provide two pattern to a file. Between those two patterns, whatever content are there, you want those content to be extracted. So basically splitting the file into small portion, or these kind of operations you can use set command for. So go to this link, you can see a number of example that uses set command. So let me create a file inside my system, file.txt, and I am putting some content like this. Unix is a great OS, Unix is open source, Unix is free. Learn operating system, Unix, Linux, which one you choose. Then also I put http google.com. So I put a number of lines inside this file. I'm going to save this file, and it is on this file I'm going to run my awk set commands. So maybe the first thing that I want to awk command, you can either run the awk command this way. Either you can run awk command this way, or you can run the awk command followed by the file name. That's also a valid syntax, just like you do in grep, right? You can run the command like this also. Both would give you the same input. So in this case, what happens is the file content would be taken by awk as the input. That's the same case in previous command also. You print the file content and that would become the input to awk command. So it's actually technically both are same. And this way also you can execute the awk command. So in case of sed also it is not different. You can either run the command cat test.txt followed by sed, or you can run your sed command, then options followed by the file name. Okay, fine. So now what I want to do is I have this file content, I have file.txt, and these are the content in the file. Now let's say I want to replace Google with let's say Facebook. Wherever there is an entry called Google, I want that to be replaced with Facebook. It's a command set substitute. So this is how set command would look like. Whatever command that you want to put inside set and whatever string that you want to pass from set command, they are separated by a delimiter. A delimiter is nothing but slash. So what I want to do, S is the command for substitution. Substitute, put a delimiter, then which string I want to search for. Let's say I want to search for Google, and what string I want it to be replaced with. I want it to be replaced with Facebook. Then run the command put your file name, then automatically set command would take the content of the file as input, and then whenever it find Google, it would be substituted with Facebook. Now you can see google.com is replaced with facebook.com. Or you want to replace Unix with Linux. I want to replace Unix with maybe capital Unix. The small Unix I want to replace with the capital Unix. And you can see it is replaced here in the first field. In the second occurrence, it did not replace. Second and third occurrences over here, the third occurrence is it did not repeat. It did not replace. Over here also, the first one got replaced. By default, set command would replace only the first occurrence, not every occurrences. Or if you want which occurrence you want to, let's say it's only the second occurrence that you want to replace, you can put 2. Then it would replace only the second occurrence. Or you want only the third occurrence to be replaced, you can put 3. Or you want everything to be replaced, you can put G. G for global. That would replace everything. All three places you can see the Unix have been replaced. Over here also it is replaced. Or you want to do it starting from the second, you want to replace it globally. That means the first one you don't want to change. The second, starting from the second, everything you want to change, you can put 2G. That would make sure that starting from the second, it would change everything. But none of these commands would make change to the original file, file.txt. It would be unmodified. Make a note. Basically, what set command do by default is it run on this file, content on this file. It will not make modification to this file, but it will work on the content and it would print you the result in the terminal. And you can do that, like if you want it to be replaced, let's say the last one, the third occurrence, you want Unix to be replaced with capital Unix, and you want it to be saved in the file, you want the file to be modified with this change, you can put a -i option, which would basically make change to the original input file. Run this command. Now you open your file test.txt, you can see, sorry, it's file.txt. Now you open your file.txt, you can see the third occurrence have been replaced inside the file. The reason is you used -i switch along with this particular command. Harish, that's true. VI editor also support regular expressions. Right? Those, right? The same replacement, find and replace, can be done using a VI editor. VI editor is also a command that support regular expressions. Yeah, there can be many command which can replace this, right? I mean, it doesn't really matter which command you want to use. All you need to care about is your output, right? There can be many command that can do the find and replace thing inside your Linux. There can be many command, and many of them does support regular expression also. Okay, so this is one operation that you can perform using the set command, find and replace. And okay, now let's see. I have this http google.com entry here. And this entire thing, I want it to be replaced with www dot. So what I would do, I want to run the substitute command, substitute. Then what I want to substitute, http colon double slash. This is what I want to be substituted. Put a slash, then you put www dot. Let's say that's my intention. The http should be replaced with www dot. Then you can put 1 or G also, doesn't matter. So this is the command you can run. But as you can see, there are two slash that you want to put here. And by default, what is slash for set command? It's the delimiter. It's not a normal string. It's a delimiter. So if you want to put HTTP like this, you should put a backslash in front of both beginning slashes. And as you know, backslash is the escape character. Backslash space, backslash followed by slash means it is slash as a pattern or slash as a string. So let's do this. What I want to do is run the set command, substitute http colon double slash, and before each slash I am putting a backslash to make sure that our set command would treat them as a normal searching pattern. Then put your delimiter, which is nothing but slash again. Then you put which string, which is the new string. This is what you want to do. Then you put file.txt. So in this file.txt, wherever there's an entry http colon slash slash, it would be replaced with www dot. You can see it here. So this way you can actually right. Yeah, we don't need to open the file to do this. You can run the set command from outside the file. No need to open the file if you want to run the set command. Let's say you want to use a -i switch, the file will be written. Okay, and okay, let me say one more thing. Now this is the content of your file.txt, and yeah, is the content of your file.txt. Now what I want to do is run my set command. Same thing. Let's say what I want to do is substitute operation. What I want to substitute, it's the unique string that I want to substitute. What I want it to be replaced with, I put something like great ampersand. This is the new string which I want to put, great ampersand. Maybe I want to do it globally, so I put a G. Then put the command, put the file name, file.txt. What would happen? Wherever there's an entry for Unix, you put global here, G here. What it means is, wherever there is Unix, it would be replaced with great ampersand. Great ampersand is not printed. It printed you great Unix. Everywhere it printed great Unix. So what is ampersand? Ampersand is nothing but whatever the searching pattern that you are using here. Ampersand is a value or a variable that you can use inside set, which always points to your searching pattern, whichever pattern you are searching for. Got it? Or now let me show you another example. Cat file.txt. You can see there is something called Unix Linux. I want Unix Linux to be replaced with something else. Substitute Unix Linux. I want it to be replaced with, let's say, capital Linux, something. I want it to be replaced with capital Linux. I want to do it globally, so I put a G file.txt. Run this command, you can see the Unix Linux has been replaced with a different string. Fine. Now I'm doing one thing. I still want to search for Unix Linux only, but I am putting that in a bracket with a backslash in front of each bracket. So still what I want to look for, I want to look for Unix Linux only, but just for the sake of right splitting them, splitting the input string. I split the input string into two parts, but still it doesn't mean that I'm not searching for Unix Linux. I'm still searching for Unix Linux, and it would be replaced with Linux. Run this command, you can see Unix Linux is now replaced with Linux. The same output as you have seen in the previous command. So what you need to understand is this command as well as this command are same. You are still searching for Unix Linux only. But in this case, you split the input into two. I will tell you why I did that. Here I am putting 2 is a better OS than 1. What is this 1 and 2? Of course, backslash 2, backslash 1, etc. What is this 1, 2, etc.? 1, 2 are nothing but the splits. The input string is split into 2. This is called 1, this is called 2. 1 is equal to Unix and 2 is equal to Linux. So in the replacing field, I put 2, that is nothing but Linux. I put 1, it is nothing but Unix. So basically, whichever split I want to use inside my replacing site, I can refer them as 1, 2, 3, etc. Run this command. You can see this entire Unix Linux is replaced with Linux is a better OS than Unix. So this is also something you can do. Set command by default, it does not change the original file. It will change the original file only if you use -i command. Varun? So for shell scripting, VI editor is not a suitable command as you may have figured, right? Using a script, you don't really want to open your file in a VI editor, then execute some command inside the VI editor. It's not possible. So when you deal with scripting, you want a single command when it gets running, when it runs, it do the job for you. Only those type of command you can really put inside your shell script. So VI editor is not a preferred option to write or to do in when you work with a shell script. Yeah, that's what you can \1 \2 up to \9. And -p switch, if you use it, it would basically print you the lines that matches. Let's say I am running this command. I'm looking for Unix and want it to be replaced with capital Unix. You can see it happened everywhere. But as you know, Unix is not there in each record or it's not there in each line. In this line you have an entry. In this line you have an entry. So there are only 2 lines that are matching out of many lines in the file.txt. If you use a p switch, it would basically print you. It would simply print you the lines that matches 2 times. And if you use a -n option, it would not show you the duplicates actually. Then -n along with p would actually print you only the lines that matches. Whichever pattern that you are matching, only those lines would be printed. As you can see, in this time the output contains only 2 lines, right? The other lines are skipped. That would happen when you use -n switch along with -p switch, print switch. And then, yeah. Now let's say if you are coming across some situation, I told you you are going to work with a lot of log file to do some troubleshooting and stuff. So when you do such things and you find that there is a log file, and inside this log file you have a number of entries. For example, the auth.log file which I talked about yesterday, there is a file in Linux. Whenever somebody tried to log into your Linux computer, it would be logged into that file. The attempt would be mentioned inside that file. So let's say you believed that somebody without your knowledge logged into logged into your Linux server. You believe that somebody without your knowledge logged into your Linux machine, and it happened. The incident happened yesterday, and you know that the incident happened yesterday between 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. 12 noon maybe. So apart from searching the entire log file, what we can really do is just search for the file and extract the logs which are between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. of yesterday. What we can really do is you have a large log file which has the date and time. In each line, it has the date and time. You take this string, you take another string. This is the 10 a.m. time, this is the 11 a.m. time, and those time are mentioned inside this file. What you would do is you just extract the complete information from the file between these two strings. One at 10 a.m., other 11 a.m. Between these two strings, just extract everything. In that case, what you can do is just mention whichever pattern, and then set command would actually print you the content between that. So this is how you could really do it using this particular command. So I will show you the auth.log file. Open, go to your folder, var log. Over here you can see a file called auth.log, or if you open that file you can see a number of entries. People tried to log into your machine and they were unsuccessful. You can see somebody from this IP address tried to log in, and from this IP address they tried to log in uh, as an invalid user. So the server rejected his login attempt. Server did not allow him to log in. And like that, you can see a number of entries. Actually, these are nothing but some random attempts, people on the internet trying to log into your system. Maybe they are using some script or whatever. But your server will not allow them to log in unless they have your private key. Okay, fine. So that's how. So all such attempts would be logged into this particular file, and you can even see the entry something like accepted. Where is that? Just search for accepted. Okay, let's take a look at this particular line. Let's take a look at this particular line. What it says is accepted the public key for Ubuntu from this particular IP. So somebody from this IP tried to log into your EC2 machine and they were successful to log in as user Ubuntu. That's what this entry means. So basically, from this line you can see who logged into your system, from which IP he logged in, which username he had used to log in, and whether the server accepted his key, and whether at what time this incident happened. All this information you can see inside this log file. So let's say my intention is I want to search for on Jan 14th between this time, that means Jan 14, 23, 33, 59, that is the first time, and maybe this time Jan 14, 20, 59, 28. So in between these two times I want to search my log file and see whatever content are there in between these two times. What would I do using set command? Run your set command. Set -n and -p I want to use in this case because I want only those lines to getting printed. By default, set would print everything. The entire string that it received, it would print everything that you don't want. Right? You want only those matching pattern to be printed. So I have to use -n along with a p switch. So what I want to do, first you put the in the first delimiter you put the first pattern, put a comma. In the next delimiter you put the second pattern. Right? So in between this pattern and this pattern, whatever are there would be printed. So at the end, you are going to put the file name auth.log. There is some error. I did not use the P switch. I need to put P. That would actually print. Yeah. Now you can see only between this time and this time, whatever log entries are there that got printed. This is how. Now let's say I also want to find out who successfully logged into the system. What I can do? Run this command. I got a lot of entry. Now you run the command grep accepted. Run the command grep accepted, which would actually show you any lines that contains this keyword accepted. There are absolutely no lines, which means that nobody logged in between this time. Now you want to investigate further. Okay, maybe I want to know who tried to log in. So you can see a different error here. Whenever somebody tries to, or you want to search for this particular line, invalid user. Search for this line, invalid user. Then you want to know who have been trying to log into your system with a invalid user. You can see the information here. Invalid user admin from this IP. So what it means is from this IP alone, there are many people who try to log into my system. So maybe I want to make a better list. What I would do is I want to print only which user they tried to log in and also the IP address of the user. So where I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. On the 8th column, I can actually see which user they tried to log in as 9, 10. On the 10th column, I can actually see from which IP they logged in. Maybe I would rather want to put the IP I want to print first, followed by the user. Better, right? And also in the begin section, I want a tab space. The output field separator, I want it to be a tab so that it would look better. So these kind of things you can do using. So always use a pipe symbol if you want to send the output of the current command to the next command. Always put a pipe symbol. Now let's say your intention is you want to generate a email body. You are generating an email body with a report who how many people tried to log in between this time. What you can do, maybe instead of simply printing these values, you would generate it like a email body. You would print $10 from the IP. So over here in the print statement, I am putting something like from the IP address. This one, maybe put a comma. A login attempt was made at what time the login attempt was made. $3 would show you the time at $3. Ask user $8. So this way I can basically I want to generate a email body and I want to send this as an email to someone. I can run this basically I want to send a status report from the IP address this a login attempt was made at this time as user admin. So I mean only you know the log files. The people who read the email may not know the log files, so better they want to get a user friendly form. So you can make it like this. Now let's say you want to email this. There's a command called mail in Linux that you can attempt, and put a subject by putting report of login attempt. Then you can put to whom you want to send out email. So basically what this command would do is, the email body, it would accept from the previous command, which is nothing but this entire thing. This entire thing would be emailed to Basil 1987 with a subject of report of login attempts. Run this command. Actually, mail utilities is not installed currently. And the thing is that even if I install it, the mail will not go out of my EC2 machine, because AWS will not allow email to be sent from EC2 machines. So what I'm trying to say is, you can use the pipe symbol and run multiple commands to achieve what you want to achieve. Uh, we cannot use if condition inside set. 57. How to handle the case sensitively? Say I want cap Unix in first and test Unix. Yeah, you can put 1, 2, 3, etc. When you use the set command, let's say whenever you substitute the thing, I don't know if this was the question. You want to replace Unix with capital Unix, and you want to do it only for the first person, you can put 1, or only for the second person you can put 2, only for the third person you can put 3, like that. Or you want to put everything starting from first, put 1G, everything starting from second, put 2G, like that. Deepak. So like that, any useful information that you want to, this grep sed and out command is actually a perfect combination that can do many things, right? A lot of your job can be automated. Sometimes you want to find out how many times this IP address has repeated. So when you send out the email, you want to also include a status summary saying that this particular IP tried to log in these many times to the system, to the server, as different usage. Something you can do. What you can do is, there's a command called WC. You need to run another command to find that out. The command would be, what is this command? Okay, you are searching for the invalid user error. Then you got, first you get the list of IPs, only $10 you print. Then there's a command called sort-n in Linux, which would actually sort the output based on number and digit. It would sort the output. So now the output got sorted. There's a command called unique-c. Basically, in this case, each line will not be printed, but the line one by one it would be printed. Unique-c. If you simply put unique, it would print. It won't print the duplicates. It would print only unique IP addresses. If you use a -c option along with your unique command, you can even see how many times this IP address has repeated. The other two IP repeated only once. The last IP repeated 11 times. Maybe this also something that you want to send out as an email. This particular IP, try to, or you can even try to put a if condition. Okay, maybe let's do this. Now your intention is you want to send a special body, generate a special email body. If any IP address has more than 10 login attempts, you want that IP to be added into an email body in the summary field. So assume I have these things. I'm running this command. And I am passing this command to my for loop. Is it fine? Can I pass this command to a for loop? Then inside the for loop, I can put if condition. If $1 is equal to, right, $1 is equal to 11, then, or I can put an out command within here saying that, or here itself I can run an out command. You don't need anything here. Within the out command, put an if condition. If $1 is equal to greater than 10, then it would generate another message. Let's say put an if condition. I can simply put the if condition inside my out itself, saying that if $1 greater than 10, if basically what it means is if there are more than 10 connection, 10 login attempt, what you want to print? You want to print a message, the IP $2 has more than 10 login attempts. Right? You want to give it a priority. This could be suspicious. So the other IP address will not be printed with this message. Only those IP address that has more than 10 login attempt would be printed. You are getting it, right? Can we send this information to third-party tools for analysis? Yes. We can either send this input to a third-party tool. We can send it as an email to a person. Anything. Hiran, yes, they help us uh, with if there are any kind of login attempts, they will not be able to help you with. Login attempt would be your responsibility. AWS will not be able to help you with such kind of attacks. That's a different thing. But if some network connection, lots of people try to, just use your bandwidth and such kind of attempts are made, then AWS would be able to help you. Right? And yeah. And actually, these are not deliberate attempts. Actually, some people on the internet, they want to find out which machines on the internet are vulnerable and can be hacked easily. They just randomly try to connect to number of IPs, try to log in with a username and password. So our server, we know that it is always secure because it is secured with a key. People without key cannot log into this machine, which means it is safe for us. So just, but this kind of attempts would be there in every machines, most of the machines. People on internet make attempt to connect to randomly to many machines over the internet. It's the such attempt that you see right here in my log file. Okay, so and you have one final assignment that I want you to do, one or two. This is something we already did, and I want you to repeat it. Whatever we did in the class, do it as an assignment. Find out, write a bash script to check this particular file auth.log and list all successful login attempts to your server. And write another shell script that would print you the IP address of your Linux machine. You know how to find out the IP address of a Linux machine. There's a command in Linux that you can use. Ifconfig is the command which would print you the IP address of your machine. Maybe you would see a different IP than what you use in Putty. That's okay. Don't worry about it for now. You would see an IP when you run the command ifconfig inside your EC2 machine. What I want to do is I want this IP address to be printed alone, nothing else. Whenever you run your script, it would print you this IP. Basically, it would extract only this IP address from this entire command, print you only this IP. You can use the combination of grep command, out command, set command, or whatever. In the output of your command, it would be just the IP, nothing else. You have an idea how to do that, or yeah, I will be uploading this PPT into the Google Drive. And next thing what I want you to do is just search in Google country codes, country codes. Search in Google like this, you will get some website where you can find the country codes, right? So what I want you to do is just copy paste everything, this complete country codes you copy paste into some file in your laptop, in your not laptop, in your EC2 machine. And inside that machine you run some command which will accept this file as the input to the out, to the set, to the grep command, whatever. It will accept this as the input to those commands. You can use multiple commands separated by pipe symbol. I don't care. In the output, I want the country name to be printed, followed by the country code. That's what I want to do. I want the country name to be printed, followed by the country code. Okay, one thing. And maybe you may have noted that there is a space in the country name sometimes. You need to take care of that also. The next thing what I want you to do is just write a script that would calculate the stock value of Google. How you can find the stock value of Google? You can search in Google. Stock value of Google. Search in Google. You will get a many websites where you can see the stock value of Google. Go to any website, any link, you can see the stock value of Google, and it would keep on getting updated. It would keep on increasing, decreasing based on whatever the whenever the value changes, it would automatically be updated in this page. So what your shell script will do is it will connect to this link using curl. There's a command called curl in Linux. Curl space the link would actually print you the entire link into your terminal, entire thing into your terminal. You can run your grep command or whatever, grep command, set command, out command, or whatever you can run in the output of this curl command. Basically, I want to get only the stock value, nothing else. Okay. And once you wrote that script, put that script into your bash rc so that each time you log into your EC2 machine, you will get a pop-up, you will get a message saying that stock value of Google is this. Do this. And yeah, that's let's forget about the other things for now. And then you have one assignment. the user management script. Basically, you are going to write a script which is going to manage the whole usage using case statement. That is something we haven't learned yet, but I will show you how to do. So what I want you to do is, let's run this user manager.sh. I want to create a script user manager.sh. It's a bash script, of course. So first it would print a message asking the user to choose his option. Please select what you want to do. Echo. Please select what you want to do. Then give him the options. You can select 01, 02, 03, whatever. You can type in the keyboard. So you want to read from his keyboard. So option, read option. So whatever you would enter from the keyboard would be written to the variable option. Then you would start a case statement. If option is equal to 1, do this. Option is equal to 2, do this. Like that you would start a case statement. Case option in. I will show you the syntax for case. So like this, you can have the case statement. If it is this value, do this. If it is this value, do this, like that. So I want to put, if case is equal to 1, 0, 1, what do you want to do? Then I want to put some message, echo. Okay, you chose to add a new user. Enter the username, right? If you want to add it, right? One, if the user had ended, he want to add the user. So under one, I would write, you have choose to add a new user. Enter the username. Then they will enter the username from the keyboard, which your script would read to a variable called username. Then it will run the command user add -m $username. Maybe one more step further, what your user you want to do inside your script is, you want to make sure that this command has succeeded or not. How you would do that? Check $? Equal to 0. If it is equal to 0, then you would print a message saying that. Or maybe if it is not equal to 0, then there's a problem you want to mention. Then what you want to do? Then you want to stop the script saying that failed, user creation failed, try again. Then you can close it with an if, then you can exit. Exit is the command which would do the exiting. Otherwise, you will continue saying that. You don't really need else, because you are putting the exit statement here. So else is not mandatory. If you want, you can put. Or you would simply print, it would move on to these steps where you are going to print user successfully added. You can, yeah, you can confidently put this echo message, because if the user was not added or if the command had failed, the script would have terminated already. If you are coming to this line, what it means is this is not equal to 0. Or you can even check it further. Maybe you want to make sure that the username the user has entered is good one. You can put another if condition to check whether the user actually had entered anything. -is that username. If the username is 0, then you would print a message saying that please enter a valid username. the username that you have entered is wrong. So this is also you can do within this. Then you would add the user. If you verified that the username is not null, you will go ahead and add the user. Then as a extra precaution, you would check if the dollar question mark is non-zero. If it is non-zero, you will say something is wrong. Please try again. And then it will terminate the script by using exit. But if the script did not get terminated, what it means is this condition has failed. Then you will come to the next line where I am simply printing user successfully created. That's it. Then you want to stop it. You can put two commas to indicate, two semicolon to indicate that you are done with this block. Then you go to the next block, 02. What is 02? Create a group. Then you want to echo something saying that, okay, you chose to create a group. Please enter the group name. So like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. till 7, you write down what you want to do based on what option you had given to your users. Then do the action for them. Your script will do the action for them based on what they choose. If they entered something invalid, let's say I entered something 09, which is not in the list. So I can put star at the end saying that for any option other than the listed ones above 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 7, I would put, instead of putting 8, I would put a star saying that means everything else. Star means everything else. Please choose from this list. Please choose from 1 to 7. Like that. Some message you can put. That's it. And case statement can be closed with an ESAC. ESAC. Case starts here and case ends here. Close this. Run the command. Execute the script. It will ask you what you want to do. You want to add a user, or I put, let's say, 09, which is not in the list. It would say, please choose from 1 to 7, and it will exit the script. Okay, let me run it again, and let me choose the first option, 01. It would ask me, you choose to add a user. Please enter the username. I'm going to enter the username as Basil. Then it tells me the permission denied. Of course, I am running the script as the user Ubuntu. Let me become root. Now I am root. I am going to execute the same script as the root user. Then it will ask me which user you want to add, Basil. And the user successfully added. To verify, go to the etc password file. I can see the entry has came for Basil. So finish this entire thing. You know all these things, how to do. How you will verify if a user exists? etc password is the file that you need to check. Maybe you can use a grep command, and after running the grep command, you can check $? Value to check if the user exists. etc password is the file you need to check if the user exists. Which file you would check to find if the group exists? etc group is the file. If you see an entry inside that file, the group exists. So finish this script, and yeah, then that's it. That's all your assignment in shell scripting. And also finish all other things, other assignment that were given to you by today. From tomorrow, we are going to start with the Linux administration. So give most priority to from tomorrow on our daily topics. Whatever topics we cover per day, finish them next time. Give more priority to the daily topics because you need to be in sync, right? Yeah. So, any
Hello.
questions? Yeah. Cool then. So, yeah, I'm sorry it's late. Kranti, yeah, I will talk to. I have your mail ID actually, but I don't know